Sounds awesome.
So we're recording, and you're listening to Keeping Up with Social Media. We've had a bit of trouble getting into this today, and we're all doing the brand new stuff. You know, we've tried Periscope, we've tried Meerkat, and we're all trying to work out how this all works. And today we're trying Blab, and I think it's going to usurp the whole lot. We've got my very good friend Jessica Humphreys, the go-to girl for Aussie millennials. We're setting her up as the go-to girl. You watch, this girl's going to fly from this day forward. September 2015, you heard it first on Blab. The
Aussie Chelsea
go-to girl for millennials. And my mate Tim from Brand Ideas, who's very, very graciously got this thing going for me while I was having technical trouble. Thanks again, mate. How are you?
Not a problem. I'm doing really well. And I've got to say, Adele, I owe you an apology. I had a little mental break and I couldn't remember your name for a moment. So it was Adele who did the chat with me.
Depending on what age bracket you're in. That usually people.
That's true. That's true.
I can be sort of like the Keith Richards of social media, if you like. I mean, I'm a little bit helpful from him, and I don't have as much alcohol in my system. But other than that, I think we're identical.
Are you as talented now, Keith?
Anyway, so we got a good crowd in. Say hello to everyone wherever you are in the world. There's a chat function. If you've never done Blab before, there's a really cool chat function on the side. I'll try and jump in. We're using the hashtag Spring into Social Media. And already my very good friend Jimmy Starr in Philadelphia has thrown that out to 1.2 million people today. How cool is that? I'm going to talk about that in a minute, called Tweet Reach. So I want to first of all introduce Jessica, because I only met her last week, and this is how fast this stuff goes. So, Jess, can you just have a bit of a chat about what you're doing, what you maybe want to talk about today, and then I'll throw to Tim, and you can do the same if you've got time, because you've very graciously jumped in here. I'm not going to hold you to that if you've got to run off. But Jess, you go first.
Great. I'll try and keep it brief because if you were here at the start, you would have heard a little bit about me. But I have Social Concepts, a PR and social media agency in southeastern Melbourne. We do design, web design, social media strategy, policy, education and training. We do management. Our key core focus is to educate small to medium businesses who have no to little experience within the social space. I'm really fascinated between the blend of digital and traditional media because I have a background in public relations, working quite heavily with traditional media. And I also teach PR and social media at Federation and Monash Uni. It's
going to be hard for you to keep that brief because your bio, you could read it out for hours and hours. You're doing so much cool stuff.
Yeah, it's great. I love it. Yeah.
And Tim, do you want to run through a bit of what you're doing, and then we'll jump in and chat about social media stuff?
Quick bio as well. I'm Tim McVeigh. I'm from Sydney. I'm a graphic designer. I do a lot of brand concepts for clients and build websites and do coding. But again, the last 4 or 5 years, really embraced the Twitter space and social media, and have been encouraging clients, encouraging everyone I know to be a part of this social media experience. So often I get looked at as if I'm slightly crazy for being involved in it, but I have just met so many people across the planet with the experience of it. So I'm an advocate, and I'm very passionate about it and happy to share and chat with it with you guys.
Happy to Blab.
Yeah, well, Blab is just, I've just been blown away with it. It's just, I think it's going to be just huge. So
yeah, it is. Now that hot seat's still open if you want to jump in. Tanya Lee, Sheila, Adele, and we've got a good crowd in today. So my name is Keith Keller. If you haven't heard of me before, I'm the Twitter dude. I'm a bit of a one-trick pony. I can't be bothered with Facebook ads. I really dislike Google+. I'm not on Snapchat. But I just decided that I was just going to be the best in the world at Twitter, and I think I've nailed that. I think
my
I've
daughter
got my mojo with Twitter. But today we're going to try Blab. Today we're going to try Blab, and I just thought it'd be really funny and really funky to sort of wrap it around this idea of keeping up with social media. And a really lovely person called Patience has just joined the Blab, and that just sums us up right there. Patience, because this stuff is brand new. This is my first one today. I didn't think I was going to get in. If it wasn't for Tim and Jess taking the show, I think it would have died before it started. So you've got to have a bit of courage. You just got to jump in. You just got to have a bit of fun with it and see where it goes. But I've shared a few of your blog posts today. Jess, do you want to throw out some ideas around this idea of what went viral and also the idea of customer service in the social media space?
Yeah, so basically we just put together a post earlier this week on just a few things that have kind of gone viral in social media over the last few years. Some of the kind of things we looked at were the no makeup songs, which was quite big last year and started in the UK. There was a makeup brand that actually started it, and it was, simply women taking photos of themselves, hashtag makeup, and they were actually giving money back to cancer research. In Australia, but there was really no affiliation and no raising money. So I did my media work last year around that, and got a bit of flack actually. It was quite interesting. And I guess I love looking at social good, but what ways can we actually do that, and how can we get invested in that as businesses? Maybe taking photos of yourself without makeup isn't the best way. Maybe there are other ways. We also have other ways. Ice challenge, ice bucket challenge, goating, some funny stuff.
Yeah, what is that one? I didn't get that. Did you hear about this goating thing? I heard about planking, but what's goating?
I think goating was a silly one a few years ago when in the middle of a pop song, you'd see a goat flash up and make some funny sounds, and it went all over social media. Yeah, particularly like virus.
Like Rick rolling.
I have heard a variation on the AC/DC song "Dirty Deeds Done with Sheep," but I'm guessing that's not what you're talking about. It's actually an extremely good version and a very funny video, but I'm guessing that's not what you're talking about.
Well, have you seen this?
Really well in New Zealand, otherwise.
Oh, wow. So, Tim, what do you think about viral stuff? Have you got any stories about stuff that's gone viral? And
I think the first thing about if a client ever says, I want to go viral, that's the first thing you've got to say is it's not going to happen. That you can create concepts and you can create things that people will embrace, and hopefully they will go viral. You can do things that catch on, but to specifically, I think to specifically say our creative is to go viral is actually setting yourself up for a fall.
Cool.
You can certainly build big numbers, and you can get nice responses from great creative, but and hopefully it goes viral. But I would never set out to do that. Although, like if you get a formula, I know there's that guy on Vine who does those 6-second kind of video magic vines, which are just clever, and I think that kind of thing is bound to go viral. So, given the right piece of creative and the right message, you can build a following with that.
Yeah, it's an interesting sub-project I wanted to start with because I wanted to share some of Jess's blogs. But really, the essence of this Blab is the idea of, how are we keeping up? This site itself is only 100 days old. There's very few people in the world that have even heard of it. Increasingly, it's taken off at a very rapid rate, but we're one of the first group of people to be doing this. And keeping up with social media often involves just jumping in and having a go and really not knowing what it's about. And that sometimes can be a bit embarrassing, can't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think going back to the kind of discussion around being viral is what I've experienced too is what do clients actually perceive as viral, their objectives, because that really, really varies. And I've also found that things with a lot of negativity around them seem to have a life of their own. I remember about four years ago when I was working in public health, I just put it was a Facebook post about the risk of measles. And in one day it had reached, 180,000 people.
There's now an epidemic.
There was no image, nothing, and there wasn't even saying that there's measles outbreak. It was so basic, but it took on a life of its own from this healthcare provider, because I think it's negative, and that seems to kind of sometimes spark more action than something really beautiful and positive.
True.
This is a very, very good point. You go, mate.
I was going to say, you get campaigns like the Dove campaign, which I think has been particularly uplifting, and certainly for Dove, that bond to the brand, and the fact that women see themselves through a different lens has been an awesome way to be viral and do something good. So
I've had a lot of students write on that each year. It's huge, particularly in education, when they're writing their social media and their PR assignments. Dove, there's always usually around 5 each subject, because there's so much you can talk about and so much you can address, and I think people really want to replicate that.
Now, there's a bit of background noise there, but I just wanted to I hope you don't mind, but I've just jumped Des into the queue. This guy's a rock star. I don't know if you know him, but his name's Des Walsh, and he really is a rock star of this stuff. Introduce yourself, mate, and jump into the call wherever you were and how you heard it.
Oh, thanks, Keith. You're too kind. Hi, Tim. Hi, Jessica.
Hey, Des. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, I'm on the Gold Coast. I'm an executive coach, and I'm social media obsessive. So I was on a Blab a couple of days ago, and someone from the US said, "Oh, my favorite Australian is Keith Keller. Do you know him?" I said, "Yeah, I know Keith." So this whole small world thing is
amazing.
And one of the things I really like about, and this is not original, but someone said really this is a conversation hub, and it's constantly moving. One moment for us in Australia, if we're check in at night, suddenly you've got the Irish and the English and everybody coming in.
And the South Africans,
I haven't connected with before, so it was great.
Yeah, absolutely. So here we are. Tim, you're in Sydney. Jessica, you're in Melbourne. It's great. Sorry, Keith.
Does everyone know you here? Do you know Tim and do you know Jessica? Have you met them yet?
No, I've got to say, Des is an unfamiliar face, which is, considering the amount of time we spend on social media, it's amazing how the boxes are still there. That suddenly you cross over into a new box, which is the Blab box, and you're meeting new people.
One of the things that go on. Sorry, go on.
You go, mate. No, I interrupted you. You go.
Well, one of the things that encouraged me to get in was I read a post by Robert Scoble, who you probably know, on Facebook, where he said part of the secret of his success has been to get in early with new platforms. Now, that there's a point at which this can become a bit overwhelming, because some of the things are kind of just here today and gone tomorrow. But this one seemed to have great potential, and I thought, well, do it now. And then the other thing I'm encouraging people is to just push the button and start a Blab. Ideally with a co-presenter, I think, but not to hold back and think, oh, it's only for other people.
Well, if it wasn't for the co-presenter, we wouldn't be here at all. It's amazing. I'm just sending out a tweet about the Aussie super team. Look at this, Melbourne, Sydney, and the Gold Coast all represented in one little really groovy thing. It's just amazing, isn't it?
Yep, absolutely.
So we're talking today about the idea of keeping up with social media. How do you do that, Des? What do you recommend people do in order to keep up?
Well, a few days ago, a couple of weeks ago, I interviewed a wonderful woman named Charlene Lee. You may be familiar with. She's written a great book called The Engaged Leader, and she talks a lot about how business leaders can really use. They really need to get across social media and become familiar. And she uses, interestingly for us, she had two of them case study kind of stories. One is David Thodey from formerly Telstra, and the other is Mike Smith from ANZ. And as she said, Mike Smith is a wonderful example of you can teach an old dog new tricks if they want to learn them. Because he was a kind of social media skeptic, and then he became enthusiastic. And David Thodey, with trying to run Telstra, I mean, that'd be herding cats, wouldn't it? And he used, and she said on the podcast, she said, he would come in the morning and say to his executive team, I saw something interesting on Yammer last night, and they'd kind of look at one another, what's he talking about? And they got the message. He expected them to be listening what the key employees were saying. He expected them to be watching the Twitter stream and see what the key customers were saying. That it wasn't an option. So she said. The question came up: how do you manage your time? How do you keep track? And she said, first of all, listen. She said, fine, and choose the platform. Start with basics. Don't try to take everything on. And what I say to people is, get good at one, comfortable with one platform at a time. And whether that's your Facebook or Twitter or LinkedIn or whatever it is, and have a half a dozen that you feel you're going to master over, say, a year or maybe 2 years, that you'll become competent with those platforms. But don't try to spread yourself too much or you'll get overwhelmed. I don't know if that helps.
I think it's easier to get good at one thing than it is to try and be good at everything. So
absolutely.
And find the platform where the people that you connect with are
correct,
and then work that one. So yes. I think the challenge is often people go, oh, well, no one's talking to me on Facebook. Why? And they keep working Facebook. And I think that's the thing that you've got to find where your audience is and then be where they are.
It's one of the things I find business people seem to be reluctant to ask their customers and their employees, what platforms they're using. I say, oh, I can't do that. Why can't you do that? Tell them you're learning. Everybody's learning.
Yeah. I actually think
and people will be pleased that you want to know where they're talking about your company.
It's a big jump, isn't it? That spirit of humility. Like, I had never hosted a Blab before today, and I just had to accept that maybe it would fail, but that my mates would accept that.
Yes.
And you have. And I think that spirit of humility allows you to learn and jump in. Like, I walk around the backyard with my mobile phone trying to get my head around meerkat, and I was telling Jessica this last week. I did a 3-minute video of the floorboards in my house. and the most amazing thing was that 3 people watched it.
That's
great. Because I guess they're thinking, well, look, you got to turn around. You got to turn around one day, Keith. Can you just turn the camera around? I know you're talking and you're excited. Can you just flip it? You're taking a photo of your floorboards. So obviously that's a funny story, but the point is I didn't know how Meerkat worked, and the only way to learn how it worked is to try it.
Yes. Yeah.
I think there's consideration sometimes to strategy before you start. Like, people, small businesses particularly, they know they need to be within the social media space, but they haven't really thought about what they actually want to achieve.
Sure.
Some of the things we're just touching on, like where your target audience is, and measurement. A lot of small to medium businesses are not measuring social media. True. I mean, I ask most of my clients, what's your reason for being on social media? What do you want to achieve? And normally I'm met with a bit of a blank stare and it's obvious everyone's on social media. I've got to be on there. And I say, that's great, but what do you want it to actually do? I mean, do you want website traffic? If you do, are you measuring your website traffic? How much traffic is coming from social media? And I guess then the second thing I always say is that commitment of time, like that understanding that, social media is not free. If anything else, it's a commitment of your time. And, it is good to kind of, as you said, pick one, focus, get good at it. And if you're doing great and you're kicking goals, start another one, but make sure it's the right choice.
Yeah, pick the right horse.
Absolutely. And when I run courses on LinkedIn, the first lesson, if you like, is I say to people, now step away from the computer. What? I thought we were doing LinkedIn. Yeah, I want you to get a piece of paper and a writing implement and write down why you are on LinkedIn and what you hope to get from it.
Yeah.
And people have said that's the best part of the course because they'd spent all this time previously and hadn't actually worked out why they were doing it.
Yeah. I know.
Can I ask a question on that?
Any personal, sorry. I know with any personal brand, I try and get people to define themselves. Like, you've got to know what your story is before you can tell that story to other people.
Yeah, good point.
So I think spending that time to actually define your own brand story, whether that's a personal brand or for a company, is really important. So I think, Des, you're right. That moment that you step away from the computer and actually say, "Who am I?"
Yeah,
is enlightening for everybody.
What am I doing here? Yeah.
I'm really interested in playing out this very, very strong dichotomy that I've been asked about many, many times. Should you find out what sites people are using and force yourself to learn them? Or should you try to find the sites that resonate with your personality and master those because you'll be naturally good at them? Or should you do a combination?
Yeah, I think the answer is yes.
Combination.
It depends on your goal. If you're doing what you're passionate about and you find the platform that works because you're passionate about the platform and you're telling a story about yourself, I think that works. But if you're trying to get teenagers between 18 and 15 to buy your latest gadget, then you've got to know where they are. So it's okay. And then you've got to live in their space and their world. So that's the
yes, you're right. If you were going to target 15-year-olds, you would have to master a Snapchat whether you liked it or not.
Yeah, or a Vine, and be in that space. And certainly Instagram lives
We're
in
also talking about like which platform people are on, and that's great as well. But also, what time are they actually online? I was working the other day with a small business that was selling clothing for professional women, but they were always posting at say 10 a.m. in the morning. Professional women are at work then; they're not really engaging with social media. So I don't think it's as simple as where they are, but when are they there as well?
Yeah.
Oh, where are they and when are they? Yeah, no, that's good. Where are they and when are they?
Yeah.
Okay, that's good.
Some gold.
I've been.
And you were going to say you were going to elaborate, Des. I want a bit. You answered. The answer is yes, and that's a very, very brilliant answer. But can we elaborate on that?
Well, I think both are important to find your kind of métier. I mean, one of the things that I'm using, and this is not quite so time sensitive, is that I've been playing around with being a podcaster for quite a few years since I first went on Blog Talk Radio, and now I have a proper podcast up, and I'm interviewing people, and I've got a weekly schedule, and I've got a time each week I'm going to publish it. But the people who listen to that may be listening in their car tomorrow or going to work, but and they can. The important thing is I give them a number of ways that they can access that, whether it's iTunes or Stitcher Radio or just downloading it to their device or whatever it happens to be. So that's and I'm comfortable with that because now I'm getting to interview people, and and it's less kind of happenstance than something like Blab, and I can structure that, write notes, and so that's one thing. The other thing is that there is some. When I talk about LinkedIn, I just gave a webinar on that the other day, and I said the first thing to know about LinkedIn is that people get bored with it, because it's not sexy. It's not actually fun. Like, this is fun.
Yeah.
Facebook is fun. Twitter's fun, or can be if you've got any.
Is dry.
But LinkedIn isn't fun. LinkedIn is work. So get over it.
Are you finding LinkedIn a bit spammy at the moment?
Sorry.
Are you finding LinkedIn a bit spammy at the moment? I mean, I'm getting countless emails in the last, I'd say, 2 months that just it's gone to a new level that it wasn't at 6 months ago. And Absolutely. It's driving my attention. It's really putting me off wanting to be there.
Yeah, I know, and you and a lot of people. The thing is, though, as for people in in business, I say, you really need to be there because people generally, when you meet people, they've already checked you out on LinkedIn. And if you haven't at least got an up-to-date profile with a bit of zing in it, you're letting yourself down. And then you get to the question of participation. How much do you do that? But that goes back to that question of is your market there? And for a lot of people, that won't be where their market is.
Yeah. So I always think Twitter is like your social voice and LinkedIn as your authority to have that as social voice. So.
Wow.
Yeah, I think so. That's a good point. That's a nice distinction.
Which one is the social voice? Twitter?
Well, Twitter is your social voice, because that's the conversation you're having all day kind of thing. But where people want to see, what's he really about, that's on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
So,
someone made a point a couple of days ago that Blab is having a positive effect on people's Twitter following, because when you follow someone on Blab, there's the option there to follow them on Twitter too. And so people are finding their Twitter follower rate. And there's a sort of selective, so you're not getting the silly, useless followers. You're getting people that like you'd like to have conversation.
They're not
real people.
The other cool thing, if you see where that number, like the 43 is, if you click on that, it actually gives you everybody who's been in the group, and you can follow their Twitter and them at the same time.
Great
so
point.
That makes it a really easy way to catch everybody who's been in your chat.
Yep.
So, I've noticed that as well. Grown, and best part is that they're growing with real eyeballs and real people rather than by 1,000 follower people. So
the one other thing I'd say is because this is such fun, I had to discipline myself this morning and say, no, I will do my little round of, checking the traps, as our grandfathers would have said. And I did my LinkedIn and my Facebook checkup and my Hootsuite. And then I said, now I can have a coffee and go on Blab. Whereas my instinct earlier was, I wonder what's happening on Blab. So.
Can I just say a calendar can be the most powerful thing for to manage your social media. That if you can actually compress your social time into a few good chunks in the week rather than feeling like you've got to be checking your notifications every 30 seconds kind of thing.
Yeah.
So
this is actually very good.
Have that kind of discipline.
Do you want to tell us what you use? I use Buffer. I love Buffer. Mm-hmm. What are you guys using and how do you use it?
I've got to say I am the least automated person in the world. When I tweet, it's me tweeting. When I put up content, I'm doing it then. I've never really liked the idea of not being around when I put things up. But
when you say calendar, you lock out an hour of time to do Twitter.
Yeah, so I know when I have certain chats that I commit to really regularly. I have moments where I lock in half an hour or an hour and I'm going to really, really focus on social media in those points. And then I'm not on. So I tend to, rather than, I know there are people who are there 24/7, that the automated machine is living them while they're not there. That's never been my philosophy. I'd rather have people know that if I'm on social media, I'm there and I'm available. So
look, I must say, can I just jump in there, Des? Or do you want to? You got something you want to jump in?
I've got two things I've got to say. One is I use Hootsuite, and I find that very good for scheduling. I don't use it well enough, but I do use it. And the second thing is I'm going to now exercise some discipline and jump out and go and write the blog post that I've promised somebody.
So you're giving yourself permission to jump out again and do some real work.
Yes, leave the seat.
And let someone else jump in. Make room for someone more intelligent.
Yeah, make room. That's a good idea. Jess is having trouble. So when you jump out, Jess, you try and jump into that hot seat.
Yep. And Tim, great to meet you, Jess, and everyone. So
thanks so much for jumping in, mate. This has been extraordinary.
It's wonderful.
Okay, so Jess, you try jumping into that hot seat. That's good. But I wanted to just pick up on what you said, Tim, while we're waiting for Jess. I worked out recently that engagement well, not recently, but I've started to discipline myself exactly what you're saying. Engagement is the essence of how this works. So I've decided when I get up first thing in the morning, no video, I just jump straight onto the, because it's, it's thumping in the US there.
When I get up first thing in the morning, it's not that pretty, so no video.
So no video. So we're waiting for Jess. But what I found, there's that time period maybe between about 6 a.m. and 9 p.m. and 9 a.m. And this is really interesting for our US viewers who are trying to get their head around how far away we are. First of all, it's tomorrow here. And second of all, it's really early in the morning. So people jump in very early in the morning and do a lot of that engagement stuff. And I absolutely agree with you that is 10 times more effective than anything I can buffer or schedule. It's amazing, isn't it?
Mm. Yeah, and look, Brian Fanzo is a fan of scheduling, but his philosophy is if you're going to automate stuff, it's got to be really good stuff. So the links that you're posting have to be have to add value. So I don't have a problem with people doing it as long as what they're doing has that value to it. But just for me, I feel like the time that I would spend automating is about as much time as I would spend if I just, during the day, send something or find something that in my day I've been looking at and saying, oh, that's really cool, I'll share that. So I figure that apart from, and I'm a bit of a night owl as well, so I tend to have probably, an 18-hour day on social media on and off anyway.
Anyway, so there's a free seat if anyone wants to jump in and take the place of Des and ask and jump into this engagement question. We're talking about engagement versus scheduling, Jess. I think you could hear what we were doing while you were trying to jump in. Do you want to add your piece of the pie?
I guess I do a bit of a mix. I'm a really big believer in posting on a whim and organic posting, but I think it also depends on who you are. I mean, if you're a personal brand, that's so important.
Yeah.
If you're a small business, it's probably a little bit different, and you can get away with scheduling a little bit
Absolutely.
more. As long as that you are vigilant and still know and understand that you need to actually be in there and check to reply, because I do find a lot of small businesses that rely heavily on scheduling kind of forget, and they can go in there 5 days later and be, oh, wow, I've got all these comments that I hadn't replied to. So
they kind of leave the social out of social then, don't
exactly. It's not, what I always say, and it's one of my favourite things to say to clients is, it's not a broadcasting tool. You don't talk at people, you talk with people and have a conversation.
And social listening has to be as important as the social telling. I won't call it social shouting, social telling, where you're telling people about yourself. Although sometimes it does seem like shouting. That's the first lesson I really encourage my clients to say, that you've got to kind of listen much more than you ever tell people, and share more than anything. It's the sharing that becomes the relationship driver.
I guess
the affirmation.
I was just going to say that.
I'm just doing a little bit of stuff on Twubs, but I want to pick up on there's a comment from Australia. Wow, and thank you. I think they're calling in from Phuket, which is really cool. I think they're saying they're in Phuket. They might be in Sydney, but planning to go to Phuket. They're talking about Flipboard. Mm-hmm. They're talking about this idea of what you're saying about sharing more than you actually talk about yourself. And I personally tweet 10 to 1. For every time that I tweet about myself, I tweet 10 times about other articles, Jess's amazing blog posts, all sorts of really cool things that are of interest to my tribe. And I found that philosophy works really well. Is that something that you do? And have you indeed heard of Flipboard, or are you using it?
Yeah, I've got to say, I think Flipboard chat is probably on fairly soon on Twitter today. But
Flipboard chat.
Yeah, there's a chat that goes on Twitter about it. It's a great little magazine format for curating content. I kind of use it occasionally on my phone. I just find things and have built stories and stuff. It's not probably my first place to go, but it's a great way of building storyboards of magazines, I guess.
And other than that, what would you use? You don't use Flipboard. Do you use Paperly or?
I use Paperly, but Paperly is almost automated for me. It just curates other people's content that I follow and puts that up. And so for me, it's a great way of just collecting what Paperly thinks are great resources that other people have put up, and me seeing what they've done, and then I often will share out that content again. So it's a great way of finding the stuff that I didn't see. And then Scoop It for me has been a great tool for curation.
Scoop, okay, yeah.
Yeah, and again, I've probably been curating a little less lately, but it's probably, they're the three good curation tools. Although Paperly, I never quite, it runs in the background. And I also figured it was good because it sends out a tweet once a day. So it means I've never not tweeted in a day.
Okay, fair enough. Yep, that's a very good point. What do you use, Jessica?
I use Feedly and Pocket a little bit, but also with Facebook's new save function, I've actually found that, obviously I do a lot of work within Facebook, that Facebook's actually serving me so many articles a day that are really, meet my needs. So I'm often just saving those articles and I'm being served them without having to do anything to go anywhere else. And I have a list of, I'd say, about 10 sites that I frequent a few times a week just to go on, have a look, see what's going on, because I know that those sites are going to have really great information of value. And while you see a good article somewhere, maybe through Feedly or on Facebook, if I actually go to the site, I'll find a whole lot more.
Okay, that's good. And Feedly is fwed.ly, isn't it? Or is it
well,
Feedly?
I use the app on my phone.
Okay. Who cares? It's an app. And a big hello to Anne-Marie. Do you want to jump in, Anne-Marie, and do this?
The URLs then.
I want to jump in. I'm challenging everyone. Jennifer, do you want to jump in? Jennifer and Anne-Marie have done, and I'm sorry I'm jumping around a bit, but I want this format to be a little bit of a free-for-all where everyone jumps in and we keep those tiles, like the Brady Bunch, There's a story.
That was my first impression of the Blab, was that it was the Brady Bunch.
Yeah, and I could sing that song if you want. Maybe I'll make a variation on it. No, I'll try the microphone. There she is. Anne-Marie's in. So we've coerced her in. So, we're talking about Flipboard and Feedly and Paperly and Scoop It from the point of view of content marketing and also from the idea of curation, this idea that you're sharing a lot of other good stuff in addition to what you share yourself. I think it's an absolute must now for social media. Would you agree?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And look, I think we all live on the net now. So we're always looking at articles, and I know you can almost tell what I'm doing by what I'm sharing often. That if I'm doing a lot of coding, suddenly there'll be a lot of UI and UX articles popping up because that's what I'm reading about. If I'm doing a lot of sort of branding or marketing, that's the stuff I'm sharing, as well as obviously retweeting, actually sharing the content that the people who follow you, the people that you have relationships with within your social circle, and affirming them by saying, wow, read your article, read your blog, want the rest of my followers to read that. So I think that's
funny though. I think when you're involved in personal branding, it's great and you don't even think about it. Whereas a lot of the small businesses I work with, trying to explain the idea and the thought process of content curation to them can be really quite challenging, and they can be really quite funny. And I don't want to send my followers anywhere else. I want them to stay on my page and on my content. And it's just very, I guess, almost selfish attitude, but it really is about educating them as to the benefit.
Why would I show someone else's product when they're not buying my product?
And As I try to always explain, it's about value and it's about providing your audience with something of value. You don't want to be seen as forcing your product down someone's throat, because that's not authentic. It's not friendly. It's not inviting. And that's not the way social media is meant to be. I don't know if I actually included this in, but I wrote a blog post a while ago on social media etiquette, because there's it probably needs to be updated, but there's so many, manners that you should be using online that just kind of go by the wayside.
One thing I'd like to ask you, Jess, as a millennial, I heard recently that authenticity is probably the new currency for millennials. They don't care what letters you got. They don't care how long you've been doing this. They just want to know that you're a real person, that you got their back, that you really care about what they're doing. And that means a million times more to people than letters after your name and some fancy title and years of experience. What's your feel on that, and what's the millennial vibe on the authenticity piece?
I think people that work with me probably want to scream when they hear the word authenticity, because I use it so often. I'm really passionate, and I think my generation is really passionate about being raw, real, and not contrived. And I think that previously the way we set ourselves up on social media was almost contrived and very staged, whereas now we want to be in the moment. And even things as simple as if you're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and you've got clients commenting on your social media, reply back to them with your first name. You don't need to use a full name, but people want to know they're talking to a person, not a business. No one wants to talk to a business. They want to talk to individuals, and it's all about humanizing and, inviting people to be a part of your community. Whatever brand you are, you can build a community, whatever business you are, and you can invite people through being authentic. And I just can't actually explain how important being authentic is.
I think
you want to pick up on
your brand becomes a call center. You've lost the meaning of the relationship with your customer. The moment I often with corporations, I'll ring in just to experience what it is to be a customer through a call process. Yeah, because often that at that point, that's where the relationship with the customer is at its most sort of tentative, and if that works, you can create something that is authentic, or you can create something that just alienates the customer, makes them feel like a number, and that's where authenticity dies.
I think it's just about being raw and being real and being in the moment, and not always having to set up these elaborate schemes. I mean, like right now, obviously I put a brush through my hair, but I'm not, staging myself up like I've had a glamour shoot. I'm just real. I'm myself. And I think
I certainly wasn't expecting to be here. So.
Sometimes you just
and look,
need to jump.
I want to pick up on that. Can I pick up on that, Jess? My favourite phrase, you may have heard this before, and this is really who I am as a person, so you're getting the real me now. I have the perfect face for radio. Video for me was such a no-go zone for years and years and years. And to hear you say that authenticity is so important, it gives me the courage to say, okay, so I wear glasses. Okay, I didn't want to tell anyone that. Okay, so I'm nearly 50. Okay, shit happens. My hair's going grey. That's okay. It happens with age and experience. And there you are. So what people are saying now is be yourself. And it's so refreshing to not have to hide behind those glamour shots you get once a year and a really fancy Smicko WordPress plugin that makes you look fabulous. It's
Photoshop is my friend.
Isn't it?
Can I answer Anne-Marie's question that's come through? Because I think it's a really, really good one. So Anne-Marie, I can see that you've asked, should you share lots of information on all different kind of topics? I think it really kind of depends on what your strategy is as well. Yes, you can share information on a variety of topics, but think about why and if they're of value to the audience you're targeting. For instance, I'll use Instagram as an example. So Social Concepts have an Instagram account, and we share lots of images of, say, food and healthy, nutritious kind of food. And we get asked by clients, oh, you know, why are you sharing photos of food? And there is a strategy behind that. My whole team is incredibly passionate about health food, and we want to work with people and businesses that are aligned in that space. So we work with a number of dietitians and people within the health space. So that's kind of, and we want to help educate. And I think that, if you're sharing content on a variety of different issues, and as Keith knows, I have a strong personal interest in gender politics and sexual politics through my research at university, it does, as long as it aligns to the bigger picture. I think having a variety of content is great, but just make sure it is actually of value to the people that are following you, and explain maybe why you're sharing it. Why does it resonate with you? What's the purpose?
That's a very good answer. I mean, with Instagram, for a very, very, very long time, I couldn't get my head around Instagram. And the way that I've found that I can use it authentically, and that's the key phrase for me, the authenticity piece, is that I share quotes because I love quotes. Yeah. That's authentic to me to find quotes that I like, because that's what I like. There's no way you're going to see me with my legs sitting at a pool.
Yeah, if I was a supermodel, I'd probably use it that way, but I'm not. So for me, I use it more as an artistic expression. I take images, and if I think I've taken a nice photo that is artistic and has merit and it's creative, I'll share that. And also just a little bit of lifestyle. This is my life in progress. So and the occasional, this is what I ate in a nice restaurant, but not often. Yeah. So.
It's very fascinating. Do you guys want to? What was that, Jess?
I was just saying, I think you've touched on something there. Lifestyle is really key. And that's, I guess, what we're trying to portray across all social media platforms, what's really important to us. I mean, there was a new social media trend that's just kind of happened this week, dog buns, which is kind of a take on the man bun. And it's people with who are putting their poor little dog's ears in like elastic bands and making little doggy buns. And we've posted that across our social media platforms because we're really quite alarmed. Yeah. They've said that it can cause animals harm. And we're really, I can't get across how much that my whole team we love animals, we love the environment, we're maybe a little hippie-ish, and it's part of our ethos. So we want to kind of share that kind of lifestyle that demonstrates who we are as a team and who we are as individuals. Yeah. We don't do hot dogs or legs on Instagram because that's probably not us, but yeah. Keith, are you there?
Yeah. So I wanted to ask the question, the whole premise of this particular blab was about how to keep up with social media. And we've talked about Instagram and we've talked about LinkedIn. I'd be very interested to hear you guys do a bit of a wrap-up of how the sites differ, just for people who, say, for instance, are thinking, I want to use Instagram, but I have no idea how to use it. I'm an accountant. Or I want to use LinkedIn, but I have no idea how to use it. I'm an actress. These sites that may be typically not familiar to them, but there might be some value in an actress having a LinkedIn account and a financial planner having an Instagram account. I'd be interested to know how you say that these sites differ, because there's about 8 now. How do you recommend clients discern which sites to use?
For me, I try and look.
Interrupt really quickly, Tim. I'm actually going to have to head off because my next client is.
Oh, you are? You have got an 11 o'clock.
Yes, I do. Thank you so much, everyone. It was really lovely to share my first blab with you.
No worries. We go and have a good day.
Jessica.
Thanks, Tim.
And inspired to hear your thinking. It was great.
Great. I would love to connect on Twitter, and we'll have to have a chat.
Sounds awesome.
Great. Thank you so much, Keith. Bye.
See you later. Well, that gives you another chance, Anne-Marie, to jump in. Try jumping into that hot seat again. Anne-Marie's been trying a little bit of time. Anne-Marie, Tim, do you want to jump in and pick up on that call, that idea of how do the different sites differ?
if you're looking at the 5 major platforms, Instagram, what I try and do is try and work out what language my clients speak and recommend the language that's most going to work for them. So if they're really visual, so if my products are visual, then I think Instagram works because it's the language of pictures. So, and often if they're into photography or if they're into lifestyle, Instagram's a great way of just constantly putting up images. I've got a client, a friend who owns a convention center, like they do garden weddings and stuff like that, and it's just beautifully landscaped. And she just tracks her garden all year.
What a great
idea. Amazing views and the changes of the season, and then whatever kind of big sort of new garden things they're doing, and it's just a beautiful kind of relaxing site. And because she's focused on weddings, she'll put up images of weddings and romance and those kind of things. So her whole Instagram thing is just telling this beautiful visual story about, flowers and gardens and weddings and sunsets over their property, which is just beautiful. So that's probably one example where if you can tell a visual story about your brand, then Instagram's great. If you're about information, then Twitter's great because you can just give little snippets of information or links to great things. I think Facebook, I've got to say I've struggled mostly with Facebook as a platform. I know it's huge, but I just think that people it's great if you can get permission to talk to them through their stream, and that's essentially what Facebook is. But then they make it difficult to, even if you want to follow a particular brand, Facebook limit that contact. So unless they pay for it.
What about your take on ads? Are you a social, a paid social type of dude, or are you?
Look, I tend to encourage my clients to make time the best investment that they make in their social media, rather than ads. But again, it depends on the on what they're trying to achieve with it. Often advertising is a great thing if all they want to do is tell somebody about an event or a product or a thing. Then run an ad, create one message, create a funnel that drives to a landing page that drives to a sale or a call. So
totally agree.
It depends on your method of what you want to achieve.
Yeah. So Anne-Marie is having a lot of trouble getting in. This might be an Australian thing. I don't know. We have another site, learn how to blog. Learn how to blog. Debbie, do you want to jump in? Do you want to try and jump in and tell us about what you teach? You're obviously talking about blogging. I'd be fascinated to hear what sites you recommend and how you recommend people do that. So Debbie's having a bit of a try. There she is. Let's see if we can wait for her to jump in. My gut feeling is hello.
Hi.
Hi, Debbie.
How's it going?
Very good. Now, where are you in the world?
So I am in the United States. I am in the state of Oregon.
Portland, Oregon.
Actually in the south. So I'm just about maybe 45 minutes from the California border.
Okay.
Cool.
Okay. Where are you going into?
This is where we need a big Australian world map on the wall.
Yeah,
so we can
exactly. So I was listening to some of the things that you were saying.
Yeah.
And I was, you were talking about how people who don't think they can use social, like a platform for their particular niche, should use it. And I was going to say, I was struggling with how to use Instagram. And I went to a friend who's very successful at Instagram. And I said, how am I going to use this? Like, what do I do? And she said, you need to start publishing pictures of office space, because that's what, you're talking about blogging, you're talking about people at their desk, all these things. And so that's what I started doing. So every night I post a picture that I have, rights to, of a really pretty, beautiful office space. And then underneath I either talk about a post that I've recently published, or I give tips for blogging, or I direct people back to my site or my email list sign up. And so they know when they see me on Instagram now that they're going to get some really good information with a beautiful picture. And she was saying to me that people who love Instagram, who are very active on Instagram, don't care about words. Because that's what I've been posting, was things, graphics with words or quotes or something on them. And she said, no, don't do that. She said, find something that's kind of, related to your niche, and then use that opportunity to draw the people in with the beautiful picture, and then give them something really great in the information.
Wow. And have you found you get them to cross over to an event like a blog post, a physical event? You can get them out of Instagram. I've always struggled with that idea.
Well, so she, like last night I did a great thing was I was talking about being more productive. And so I had a beautiful picture of someone's office. It was gorgeous. And then I was talking about how one of the ways to be really productive is to use checklists. And I have free checklists on my blog. And so I said, click the profile. Here's exactly what you search for, and go download these free checklists so that you can be more productive this week. And so when you're giving people a value, then you really are going to draw them on a platform that maybe you weren't using before.
Fascinating.
Oh, yeah, and I think the thing that sounds like you're doing really well is just consistency. That any of these social platforms, doing something consistently resonates far more than sporadic. I put up this one week and then a month later I do something else. If it's every day you're there, you just and people build that expectation. Oh, I'm going to see a lovely office from Leanne today. Oh, sorry, Debbie. Debbie.
No, but right. That is exactly right. If you're going to be on social media, you must be consistent. And so it doesn't matter which platform you pick. My mantra for everyone that I either consult with or anyone that reads like my blog or my book or whatever is pick two. Choose two and learn how to do them really, really well before you add another one. And make sure that you're being consistent all the time with those two, whether it's Facebook and Pinterest or Instagram and LinkedIn or Twitter and Facebook or whatever. But be really consistent and give the people that are following you some really good, meaty stuff. Then they're going to want to follow you around.
I was going to say the other thing is that if you concentrate on one social media platform, what you find is that your other social media circles will grow naturally anyway. So that, like, if I build a following on Twitter, it's surprising how many of those Twitter people will look for me on LinkedIn and start following me there. So even though I'm not actually trying to intentionally build my LinkedIn, getting echoey. It will grow naturally.
Exactly.
And Debbie, what tell me what your thoughts are on consistency with regards to blogging, because blogging, we know, very powerful way of getting the word out, but also very time consuming.
Here's my thought on that. It depends on what you're blogging about. Because if you are blogging about like I blog a lot about, I give out information. If I was to do that every day, people would be overwhelmed. So I don't blog every day. I may blog once or twice a week to give people who are following me and on my email list a chance to kind of digest the information that I'm handing out. If, however, you're blogging about either trends or news or things that are changing on a really rapid basis, then you need to blog more often. because you can't blog one week about a subject and then everything changes over 7 days and you come back the next week and like it's totally different.
Yeah.
So that can be
I'll ask you this first, Deb, and then I'm very interested to hear your thoughts, Tim. And please feel free to drop out if you need to do other things. We've kept you already 1 hour.
I appreciate it.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on blogging platforms? Say, for instance, WordPress versus Tumblr, or Wix. I'm hearing is now adding a blog platform, or Weebly, and I think Blogger is dead. What are your thoughts on what works in regards to building a following from scratch?
In my opinion, and from what I hear from clients on a regular basis, is that people need to be on WordPress.
Okay, WordPress.
There are simple ways to create blogs now with using Wix, or even Squarespace is coming on really strong. There are
logging the Medium.
Yeah, Medium, Tumblr, all those things. What happens is that there's not the control that people want as they begin to grow. And so WordPress is the only place that you have that control.
So Tumblr is super simple.
Owning your own content is still important. So having that place that's yours and driving traffic to your domain, I think is still really important.
Yes.
I think Medium is an amazing platform, an amazing piece of software, but I'm not sure that in a while it's not going to people are going to want to pull off what they've written up there and put it somewhere else. So
that makes sense.
I'm just actually quoting this for you. So what I hear you say is that Tumblr and these sites are easy to use, and it's very, very compelling to think, well, I can be blogging regularly and easily because, I actually run everything. If you haven't heard me say this before, I run everything through the dumbass filter. Right? It has to be easy. It has to be easy, or else I just won't do it.
Right.
And so I have someone else who runs my WordPress blog because it's too hard for me. Doesn't pass the dumbass test. But what I hear you say is
WordPress is an easy platform.
What I hear you saying is that Tumblr, even though it might be easier, or Wix or Weebly, you've got to think about the long-term effect of where is your content going and how much longevity are you going to get out of that. Yeah, is that what I'm sort of hearing you say?
That's definitely what I would say.
What do you think, Tim? Because you're a web designer. What do you think about blogging?
Well, look, I'm in two minds. I think WordPress is a remarkably complex tool. Like what was supposed to be designed to create easy blogs originally has turned into, well, it is a website tool, but it's still same time it's not particularly intuitive to build your website with it. So hence people have made living being website designers, plugging together WordPress sites, which is great for someone like me. But which is so intuitive, so easy to just sit and write and put something up, and there's an audience there for it because it's already got a community. I find that I often share Medium stories far more easily than I would share from other websites, just because the interface is consistent. I go to your story, or I read the next person's story. It's been put together, it's clean, it's neat, and it works. So what I would love is if you could just take Medium and plug it into your own domain and go from there, because I think that would be the app killer for any blogger, to have that kind of
I think it's important because this particular blab has been called keeping up with social media, and keeping up it sort of infers that it's possible. And if I didn't send my WordPress stuff to someone else, I just wouldn't do it. I mean, I just wouldn't
dream the dream.
But that's a very, very good point. It's important to pick a platform. You're gravitating to WordPress, Debbie, and
I agree me with Tim, though, however, and the word that he kept using, if you listen to what he was saying, was story. And when you're telling a story, Medium or Tumblr are a great way to go because you are just sharing. And so what I see a lot of bloggers do who have informational sites is use their WordPress blog for the information. And then they weave the stories around how they're using the information or how a client is using the information on another platform such as Medium. And it's really interesting to see Medium and Tumblr, to me, seem more kind of personal and a storytelling place, whereas your personal blog, instead of being where you would tell these stories that people aren't going to read, a month from now, they're a place to collect information where people can glean that stuff and use it to their benefit. And so it's really interesting to me how those two sites kind of complement each other, but at the same time, they're used for a little bit different purposes.
Amazing. Can you actually add Medium or Tumblr to a blog, to a website, Tim? Can you add a tab?
You can add frames, so you can actually post basically almost post any website into a frame of and which is a really bad hack kind of way of doing it. But yes, you can. But and I think Medium's actually doesn't allow that. They've created some software that kind of blocks that functionality. So I just think though that they're the last resort. So it's like you're trying to kind of take their whole platform and then post it in through your own website through an iframe. So yeah, you can, but I'm not sure that that's the best solution.
Because you don't want to be sending people everywhere. You don't want to say, okay, here's an article on Medium. I personally haven't heard of that one. Here's an article on Tumblr. I love that. Here's an article on LinkedIn that I did yesterday, and here's my blog, and here's a podcast on iTunes. It makes sense to bring everyone into one sort of harmonious hub. But at this stage, it sounds like it's not very practical yet.
Yeah, well, I keep dreaming of a piece of software I'm going to call My Precious, which is going to be like the ring that rules all the other social media platforms.
What a cool idea!
I'll buy it.
Yeah. See, I think it's special. It's going to be good. So, yeah, that's the dream. I think is to have that to. And perhaps that will evolve is that as these bigger social media islands learn to play a little better with each other, that there'll be somebody who builds that piece of software that just integrates it. So your Facebook and your Twitter and everything will sit in another box and we'll just shift. So if I want to know you, I look at that box and that's your full social media face.
That'd be awesome.
And it integrates all those software platforms. There's $1 billion idea there, people.
Hootsuite for bloggers. That's what we want. We want a Hootsuite for bloggers. A site that integrates all different blogging platforms and puts them in one place.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not even sure it's just blogging. I think it's just social platforms so that you're not having to jump between your Twitter stream and where you are on Facebook and where you are on Instagram, that you could sort of integrate that kind of data into something that's a little bit more sensible, tells a story about you, but everyone can still be social in.
I like it.
But that's my little dream.
Debbie, can you tell people who haven't got a blog or are reluctant to blog because of the time commitment what maybe some of the major advantages are of having a blog and what some case studies or success stories that you've had or seen happen?
Yeah, so my followers all know that my mantra for other people is that your voice matters. Everyone has something to say that's going to resonate with someone else. It might not resonate with everyone, but somebody needs to hear what you have to say. And I think blogging is the perfect way for you to say what it is that you know, either the information that you have or the experience that you've had or the story you have to tell. It is the perfect way to share that with someone else who's either in the same boat as you or is searching for that information. And so blogging always benefits somebody else. A lot of people get into it because they say, and a lot of women who I deal with, they say, well, I just love to write, which is great.
Mummy bloggers,
yeah.
You heard that phrase? Do you have that there, mummy bloggers?
Yeah, like mommy bloggers. They just, I really like to write. Well, that's great. But if you really like to write, you could do it in a journal and no one would ever see it. But the beauty of blogging is that other people get to see it and they get to benefit from your experience. And it's really important that you share it because other people are searching and needing information. And
absolutely,
it's definitely how I get all my information. I may be searching for a number of things during the day, and I know I'm going to find it because somebody's blogged about it.
Everybody's experienced something. If they just write it down, we all learn from the.
And it matters.
Can I ask the question about the various types of blogging? I personally really, really dislike writing.
I do
therefore,
too.
really dislike reading. But I love podcasting. I love it. I've got 128 podcasts on SoundCloud now, and I can talk, as you know, for a long time. But you get me to write down that information and I'm lost. So have you got some stats or some thoughts on how people are now taking in information? Are they still the majority of people reading it, or do people like to listen to podcasts more, or are people doing blabs and videos more?
I think people are doing all of it. And here's the thing. You may really like a podcast. I might like a podcast in a different time of life, but I have 2 kids who keep me on my toes all day long. I do not have time to put on a pair of earphones and listen to someone else talking when they're talking in my ear. However, I have learned how to multitask, and I can listen to them asking questions and talking, and I can read what someone has written at the same time. So for me, the written word still has a lot of value because as I'm helping them do different things, I can stop and read something. I can have my phone while they're doing their karate class. I can be reading while I'm waiting to pick them up from soccer practice. But if I have on a podcast for me, I don't have the time to listen to it. However, I love podcasts and I adore Blab. Like, I think Blab is the best thing ever.
So it's an amazing piece of tech.
I think it's
fantastic.
Can I just add to that we still live in a world of textual metadata, that we still live where search engines search text really well. They don't search audio particularly well, and they don't search video particularly well. Although I think obviously YouTube has transcripts. So again, they're trying to create a text-based search facility within the video platform. So I think if you want to resonate with a search engine and be found, that text is still the driving force for search.
And
well, can I ask
I like what Lynn had to say about transcripts. Like I love a blog that puts a transcript of a podcast, because while I don't have time to stop and listen to the podcast, I can read through and glean the information. I love that.
Yeah.
So,
and can I ask a question about that? Because I'm actually playing around with this exact scenario myself. Would you prefer a separate summary of what's talked about in the Blab or the podcast, or would you just like a direct translation, a transcription? Which would you prefer?
Look, I think nowadays, like if you're doing an hour's talk for something, that's going to be a lot of words and a lot of things. I think what people want is, here is a talk, here is the take home for that talk.
Yes.
Here are the hot points. Yeah. And if I read the hot points and they're enough to go, oh, wow, what he said there is awesome. I wonder what else he said. Then I'm more likely to jump in and listen to the hour's talk.
Listen, that's what I'm thinking.
So,
it's sort of a high-level summary, maybe 300 or 400
It's
words.
a teaser and a taste.
Because I don't need to listen to the whole thing about who you're introducing. I don't need to listen to you talking about just chatting before you get into the meat. I just want to know what the meat of the talk was.
Yeah.
So if you summarized it, like you said, a really high quality summary, that would be ideal.
Yeah. And someone once said to me, I don't need to watch the game, I just want the score.
Yes.
You know, that's a very good analogy for what a summary or a tweet maybe is. I don't need to know the whole thing. I don't have to watch the whole blab.
Yes.
I just want to know the take-home message that I got from this. And do you recommend adding the text in textual form in the blog itself, or do you add a PDF or
in the blog?
Oh yeah, it's part of the blog.
Don't make me download something else, because I don't have time and I lose it, and then I have to print it.
Find it.
Yeah. Because if I want to get it on my phone too, then I want to be able to just wherever I'm at, like maybe I started reading it on my laptop, and as I go through the day, I pick up my phone because I'm going somewhere, and waiting for the kids or whatever. Then I want all that information right where I can get to it.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
The other thing, Keith, you could do is a little highlights reel. Like if you cut the top 10 snippets out of the talk and bundle them together as a 30-second teaser.
Yeah.
That also might, I just think if you're trying to sell long form content now that is a talk, then you've got to give me a reason to commit the time.
Yeah.
So if there's those little, or you at least drive traffic to that little 30-second teaser, you've made some impact, and people can move on. So with attention spans now, I think the more you can condense the message, make it quick and easy to digest, the more impact you're going to have than perhaps with the long form content. Yeah. Yet we have been talking here for almost an hour and a half, so long form still seems to work.
And Adele has just said, mate, are you still going? You guys are still going. She was there at the beginning, and she had to go out, and she's probably done the shopping and taken the kids to school and had lunch and all that stuff, and she's come back, and we're still going, because there is a lot of stuff to say. It's probably a reason to wrap up. You've taken up 90 minutes of your time, and I so thank you, Tim, for jumping in, mate. You saved my bottom there. I mean, I was.
That's a pleasure, Keith. I saw your face and things. Thought, oh, Keith's on. I wanted to catch up, so that's awesome.
And thank you so much for jumping in, Debbie. Can you just tell people a little bit about how they can find you and what they can do to get more information about blogging?
Yes, so I am at debbiesthongalon.com, and I will write it in the chat. And I'm kind of the middle school teacher of blogging. So there are plenty of people who can teach you how to start a WordPress site in 15 minutes. But once you do that, you need to learn actually how to blog. And so that's what I do. I'm not going to give you the super ultra technical stuff, but I am going to give you the basics, like how to set up email so that you can grow a list, how to have a really good sidebar on your blog, how to make products, how to get on social media and use it to your advantage. So think of me as I don't know what you guys call it down there. We call it middle school here. And it's just that you're kind of a blogger, but you're trying to be
the
better.
Fundamentals that we need to learn.
Yes.
That's very, very good. And you do that mainly through the WordPress platform, do you?
I do. I'm on social media, so love social media.
And you've got a free ebook, a teaser, a lead magnet, we're now calling it?
Yes, I do. You can have 5 things to grow your blog today if you sign up for my email list. Okay. And I have a great new book for anyone who has started a blog. It's called Delicious Blogging, and it's available on Amazon.
Wow, you've got a book. That's brilliant.
Awesome.
Yes.
What about you, Tim? Tell everyone how they can find out about your awesome talent and get their WordPress blogs done.
I'm pretty easy to find. I'm on www.brandideas.com.au. Remember the .au because I'm Aussie. and you'll find me there. I'm easy to find on Twitter, and I'm easy to find on Instagram. So all those places are pretty good. My name is reasonably memorable, I believe, because I share it with someone infamous in America.
Yes,
so
you do.
I think as much as I'm not thrilled that I have to share that, although it is spelled differently.
Yes,
I will point that out. And but at the same time, people will often remember that, or they'll read the name and go, "Gee, I know you from somewhere," but they can't place where the infamy came from. So sometimes I cash in on the resonant phone.
Is that person?
It is with 2 M's. Yeah. Now, there's a story behind that. I started courting my wife when we were about 16. And her name's Jill with 2 L's, so she gave me Tim with 2 M's, and it kind of stuck there. So
interesting.
I've had Tim
with
2 M's as a gift from my wife.
Yeah, Tim with 2 M's, Jill with 2 L's.
Love it.
KK. Yeah. Look, I will wrap it up simply because we've been going about 90 minutes, and I could probably do this forever. I think if I could plug in and my wife could bring me food, I would just keep going. Actually, I do.
Anyway, I'll be the first to jump out.
You're going to go?
It's been a pleasure pleasure to talk to you, Keith. Lovely to meet you, Debbie. And,
nice to meet you.
Look
Thank
forward
you so much.
to bumping into the Blab world again. It's just wonderful.
We'll see you later, mate. Okay. Well, thanks so much, Debbie, for being part of this with me. We haven't met yet, but we now know each other.
Yes.
And for anyone who wants to know when they're following the Blab right to the end, I've started the hashtag Spring into Social Media. So I'll be doing some collages of what's happened today. I've got a Twubs page. I don't know if you're using Twubs to collate your Twitter chats and your hashtags, but it's a lovely site. So I've started a page called twubs.com, Spring into Social Media. So everything we chatted about today will be there. Let's keep in contact. I want to know more about the middle school.
Yes.
Fits in with the precious comment of Middle Earth precious.
That was fantastic
stuff. So you enjoy your night, and thanks everyone for being part of this with me. If you want to know more about me, my name is Keith Keller, and there's 175 Keith Kellers in the US. So I couldn't get the .com, but I have the .com.au. And a 10-part blog series on how to use Twitter. And I'm very interested in your comments on that because I don't like writing. I mainly use podcasting as a format. But there's a freebie there and lots of stuff. So let's stop it there. But let's do another one. Let's connect and do another one in a few weeks.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
I'll see you later, everyone.